The American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, was a pivotal conflict that led to the birth of the United States of America. The war was fueled by a combination of political, economic, and social factors that created deep tensions between the American colonies and Great Britain. Below are some of the key causes that contributed to the outbreak of the Revolution. 1. Taxation without representation. One of the primary grievances of the American colonists was the issue of taxation without representation. The British government imposed a series of taxes on the colonies without granting them any representation in Parliament. The Stamp Act of 1765 and the Townshend Acts of 1767 were among the most controversial measures, leading to widespread protests and resistance. 2. The Proclamation of 1763. Following the French and Indian War, the British government issued the Proclamation of 1763, which prohibited colonial expansion west of the Appalachian Mountains. This angered many settlers and land speculators who had hoped to claim new lands. The restriction created resentment towards British rule and fueled the desire for greater autonomy. 3. The Quartering Act. The Quartering Act of 1765 required American colonists to provide housing and provisions for British soldiers stationed in the colonies. Many colonists saw this as an infringement on their rights and an example of British overreach. 4. The Boston Massacre, 1770. Tensions between British troops and colonists escalated in Boston, leading to the infamous Boston Massacre in 1770. British soldiers fired into a crowd of colonists, killing 5 people. This event was used as propaganda by revolutionaries to highlight British tyranny and rally support for resistance. 5. The Boston Tea Party and the Coercive Acts. In response to the Tea Act of 1773, which granted the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales, American patriots staged the Boston Tea Party. Disguised as Native Americans, they dumped an entire shipment of tea into Boston Harbor as a protest against taxation. The British government retaliated with the Coercive Acts, also known as the Intolerable Acts, which further restricted colonial freedoms and escalated tensions. 6. The formation of the Continental Congress. In response to British policies, the First Continental Congress was convened in 1774 to coordinate colonial resistance. This marked the beginning of a unified colonial opposition to British rule, laying the foundation for the eventual push for independence. 7. The battles of Lexington and Concord. The first shots of the American Revolutionary War were fired in April 1775 at Lexington and Concord. British troops attempted to seize colonial weapons, but they were met with armed resistance from colonial militias. This marked the beginning of armed conflict between Britain and the colonies. Conclusion. The American Revolutionary War was driven by a combination of economic burdens, political restrictions, and social unrest. The colonists' desire for self-governance, combined with Britain's refusal to address their grievances, ultimately led to war. The revolution not only secured independence for the United States but also inspired democratic movements worldwide.